Well, good afternoon to the Dream Labs, everybody. Good to have you back on board today. And boy, this is going to be a really kind of a fun situation here, I think, going through the process today. And let me begin with this little statement here so we're not confusing the issue. I really want to stress the fact that the reason we kind of looked at this 400i is from Origin. It's such a really unique machine in terms of what we do from a design point of view. And it really has a lot of intrigue. It's an absolutely elegant machine or a travel vehicle. And I'm certainly not going to be here today to be foolish enough to kind of redesign it and make it better. I just want to look at it from the point of view of a learning exercise about how to maybe take some of the surfaces and maybe tweak them a little bit, adjust them just a little bit, and go through just like a conceptual design phase of what would happen for maybe the next generation, or some potential changes or some more drama in the form itself. So I want to qualify before I begin. This is certainly not a criticism at all, nor a facelift of the thing or trying to make changes in it, but just refining some things about what we see in the form itself. It's an absolutely beautiful machine. And as Shadow stated, and Nemo as well, it's one of the most elegant forms done with Origin in a long, long time, and I'm certainly not going to destroy that. But again, looking at the possibilities of just design simple little forms here, and if you notice, we're going to begin here with this series. I started out with a couple of pages of small soldier studies to begin the process here, and it was interesting to me that you're looking at this thing. It was really neat because, again, these are elevations or soldier studies, just going through a series of like a little 5-count study of, and I think there's commonality in these sketches here in terms of what we're looking at. If you notice from top to bottom, again, the same very, very almost yacht-like or a very, very elegant-looking nose cap on the machine that the 400 has. And also, putting the engine nacelles rearward, a lot of slim body form, kind of thinning things up a little bit. Those are elements that I think I'd love to be able to keep going through the process of doing these facelift studies. And again, notice getting a little slimmer here, a little quicker, keeping the capsule. I think this cabin area a little bit too a little bit too forward, and from the point of view of where they are now with the actual machine itself, and a little pulling the cabin rearward. Again, maybe a double standard here. Maybe there's an inside line or a center spine that has a couple of canards on each side of it, which this one reflects. And again, keeping a little more of the cockpit rearward and getting a lot bolder engine nacelle and streamlining as it goes rearward. This was interesting, but it got everything kind of went right down the middle here, almost in the center of the cabin, the actual cabin itself, or the command cabin. A little more too much to the center, and a little bit clumsy in terms of being a little bit more bull-nosed, not as elegant looking, I don't think. And coming back in again, dropping the nacelle and missing the dihedrals, of course, that the 400 has on the wing systems. And then the last one, kind of interesting, when we actually tear up the actual front surface and create like a wind barrier or a slipstreamer up in front here, and then going back to the very thin body, and again, keeping everything rearward. I think that cabin rearward is extremely important from the point of view of maintaining the character of what this machine does. So let's look at this. There was page 1 here. Let's kind of get these out of the way, and we'll just bring in. There's a second study here. All of a sudden, some interesting things are beginning to happen. Listen, a lot more organic in this guy. Still, I like to see this guy stretched a bit. Some of the shapes are interesting. Victoria, hey, how you doing, guys? Good to see you, Victoria. Nice. Have you on board. So thanks very much, Victoria, for joining us. So I went back from page 1. Notice they're a little kind of stiff, little swim side by side, and we kind of evaluate them as we go. And there we go, right about there. Again, just getting started with some little loose soldier studies about maybe looking at the elevations that we're looking for here. What kind of design or what kind of aspects in the design are going to spark the approach. A little fast studies, and kind of slowing things down and saying, okay, what if we kept that same process in active here? And let's move this up and bring this inboard. Again, notice a little more bull nose, a little more dramatic in the actual blade surface behind the actual shape itself. And then coming back with a very round, almost more organic cabin area where it's, and again, an upper cockpit and the shape itself, and then dropping the canard down below instead of being on the wing system. There are wings on this guy, but just hidden in this view. And also a lot more sweep. And getting a little more elegant in this thing. Just maybe less linear, but it had still that same sheer look to it. But it has a little bit more elegance in terms of the form itself. And then bringing those nacelles underneath this very, very dramatic body form could be a very interesting aspect to work with in a design process as well. But also notice a very slim, almost engine system. I want you to go take advantage of maybe getting a little newer looking on that than we go through these sketches today. But again, I think the idea of getting that thing to be more organic and much more sweep in it seems to be very strong statement to make with this thing. So I started there. And I'm going to switch gears here for a moment. I'll come back to these in just a few moments. So I went from those two quick studies, and I went into I'm going to do a larger format here today. I think I'll have a lot of fun with this. Since we've got a lot more viewing area to work with, I'm going to come back in and really begin to look at, I did a couple of really fast soldier sketches here. So we can bring these into play. There we are. So 1 and 2, one above and one below. I'm going to start here by just going through some very quick little exercises and putting some tone in these guys, and then making some decisions on what we see as far as aspects of the design are concerned to make a very strong statement with this thing. Notice again, this is a little bit more bulky. It has that cabin forward, almost mid cabin, not quite there yet. This pulls everything back a little bit slimmer, a little bit more speed form in terms of being much more of an elegant shape to deal with. So let's see what happens here with this guy. Let's kind of go here, and we'll just kind of, let me move this just a touch, and let's put some surface in this thing now. Let's go back in and just put a little bit of surface in it. See what it does. I'm toning in. Just break it through a little more weight in this guy. Put this front canard in place here, with this sponson in place. Let's see, we'll just kind of pull that back a bit. Just tone it in quickly. There's the engine nacelle here, that kind of dropped into the engine itself. A little bit of line weight change in here. A little seeky way to get air underneath into the intake itself. Let's get this bone line really strong here. Bring that into play. Get out of that little nacelle here. Let's get this thing in shadow. Let's kind of put a little bit of surface in these guys. Now we can see what we're working with here. More tone, a bit more line weight up on top of this thing. Bring it right back into the cabin itself. Let's get this. This is where the cockpit is. Up on top, this kind of tone, and just do a real quick study here. Putting some graphics in place to see what we're going to generate here. Down below, a little bit of a peep window, upper, lower. It stays there. Now, into nacelle, up, into a brake, into an intake, into a breather here. Underneath, a little bit tone in through here. Yeah, a little more toning through this. This section comes underneath here quite a bit, so it rolls back. Comes out of that connection. A bit more drama in this guy to kind of tell us what the surfaces are doing. Sharpen this up just a bit. Let's keep this uppermost. Bring this around. Get rid of that. A little bit of shadow in this thing so it overlaps just a bit. Let's break this up just a touch here. Let's bring this back here. This is secondary bone line in through here. Bring that through. Let's get that little cockpit lift in here. Step it back. Step it back. A little bit of shadow in through here. Bring it back down to the engine nacelle itself. Let's get that going in here. Bring this over. Upper surface, a little bit of a cut line in this guy. Bring this through. A little slider. Get that intake in through here. Just real quick gestures here. See what we're after. Let's get this guy, a little canard back here off the engine itself. Let's go underneath this guy here. And again, get those twin canards working here off the back of this guy. So they're coming out. Let me just shift this paper a little bit. There it is. Come back in and get this to work just a touch more. And we'll put a little bit of finish on this guy. Split. Split. Recessed area here in that engine nacelle. Back in through here with a little bit of a split line underneath the belly line. There it is there. Let's kind of get these up to speed. And again, switch pencils here and put this guy in a tone. And then a little bit of shadow coming across that lower piece here. That might be enough information to give us just enough depth on what this form might look like in terms of floating into this thing. There's the back canopy here. This comes over the top. Slides back again. Upper. Bold line. Section coming across the bow into this, and then it cuts underneath. And a real strong intake area here. And again, coming underneath. Going through it. Just a nice fast gesture. So there's phase one. That gives us some idea what the forms are looking like here. And let me drop this down a little bit so you can see what we're after. And again, notice when you put surface to it, it's a, let me add one little thing, just a little bit of radius off the top of this nacelle. There we go. And again, the bolder line out there so we can tell where the separation is here. There it is. So notice it starts to tell a story in terms of, yeah, there's a lot of mass in here and it's kind of still bulky in terms of, but it drops off nicely on the tail section here. It comes right back into this engine extraction area or exhaust area. Helpful, but I'm glad to see it now in this context because the weights are still, I'd like to see it stretched a little bit more and just get a little thinner with this thing. So let me take a moment here and we'll sharpen some sticks and keep it going here. So again, this is gonna be a really good day of adventure in terms of putting together a storyline for what this guy might look like from a conceptual point of view. Maybe next second or third generation studies here to work with it. Just looking at possibilities. Is it too simple here? Weight wise, yeah, there's a little bit back and forth. I don't know, what do you guys think? So far so good. I mean, have you seen some things that are intriguing to you, yays and nays, or are we just kind of looking at carrying on here and just developing more shape? I think the thing I'm seeing here, again, I'd like to get this mass down and stretch a little bit more. So we'll go through a couple of exercises on that as we go through the process here today. So feel free to jump in, and any commentary, please feel free to do so. Extremely helpful for me, so I kind of get some impact, and we can try some things here and there as we go through it. Now let's go into this guy. Let's go into the second one here. Let's drop this down just a bit. Let me bring this up just a little bit here so we get into the screen itself. Same process. Let's put some tone in this thing. Let's just kind of walk it in real lightly. Put a little bit of line thrust in this thing to begin with. Let's get that mass. This really breaks very much more architectural. This one has a lot more feeling in terms of being sheer, almost stealth-like. Little gun system up front. Bring this back. Notice a little wedge change here. It's a little bit of a change of pace up on top. Let's bring it into the upper. Now notice how this thing slides a lot more fluidly. That line right there kind of takes the weight out of that upper. It really drops it in nicely. Looks nice. Good form, agreed, and elongating the lowering profile. Seems like it was at speed. And yeah, I think you're right. That's great. But again, notice, look at the weight here. And all of a sudden, we've kind of dropped it down to this. It just kind of compressed it, but I'm going to stretch it a little bit more here. Section changing through here. Let's go back and get that canopy up on top. That Captain Crow's Nest area. Let's bring this in. Bring this back. Put a little bit of glass viewing area up on top here. And a little bit of this behind it. Take this on through, take that back. Bring this into play. Again, notice this little reverse right here. That's exhaust. That's going to be the exhaust system there. Just kind of almost like a B-2 bomber. Real thin, stealth-like operation here. Let's get this nose cap in place here. Not bad. Let's go back a little bit more drama on this guy. Let's get this nose piece in here. This might be a little sonar system. More round form. Let's get that into play. That drops in. That cuts back. Again, I really like the fact that there's a lot of open space. It kind of takes the weight out of that front area there. A lot more drama to it. So let's kind of pull this all together here. Let me move this over just a bit. There we go. Same process. Light source coming from the left-hand side. Let's put the shadow of that little cantilever there into that area. Let's kind of get this down. Let's marry that into that. Let's get this as a recess. That little negative area. If we could go negative, or another variation, we might try a canard on this thing too, like a little extension. Boom! It comes off the actual form itself. It takes it back into the shape. So there we are. There comes underneath. Now the fun part. This comes in section-wise. Let me see if I've got a. No, I don't want to do that. But let's cut a section through it. It's this coming over, rolls over into a peak line, cuts underneath, and then ramps right back out again. Now, underneath here, what we don't see in this view is the intake for engine systems are underneath the belly form. So it comes in through there and exhausts out as you go. So it's a lot more fluid. Captain Nemo, let me top her. I don't want to sound like a heretic, but I always wondered if that ship is not floating on water, but flying in planet atmosphere. Why not put the cockpit or bridge to the bottom instead of the top? And give the canopy a negative angle so the captain and pilot can look down obstructed on the planet from above. Sounds rather bad. Man, that's an interesting, that's a neat premise. Nemo, yeah, let's give that a shot. That's kind of a fun approach. So you're taking this whole thing and turning it upside down. Is that correct? Going upside down with it? That's interesting. Very cool. So we might just change the entire character. Well, let's see what that might look like here. So let's carry on with some of the studies here. And again, let's come back in through here into this little blistered area here. Let's just take this into shape. Let's get this into some tone here. Let's take that through. That breaks just a bit. This now will break just a bit. This is all shadowing through here. Through the negative surface. This crowns through. Comes back up in the daylight here. This is again glass into glass. And again, back up there, a little bit of negative exhaust area here. And again, little trailer, little wind canard here, directional. Underneath, support system, engine. And let's go ahead and put this in place here, shadow that through, so it kind of separates one from the upper portion, from the lower portion, the deck area here. That comes back. There's a little bit of a sleeve in here, so let's emphasize that. There's airspace in there, so it does that. It comes back under that. And we'll kind of let that fly right there, and just for stability purposes, offer that nice little piece. It's a little stabilizer. And again, that's what that guy is doing right there. So let's kind of connect some dots here. Harsh line, section change, into section change, into section change, all very bulbous, very round up on top there. I don't know, what do you think there, gang? There's phase number 2. Little slippery. Interesting forms here. Just brainstorming here. Yeah, exactly. Oh, not as option, but additional, like an observation bridge. Yeah, down below, observation bridge down below. Interesting. As you said, the 400i is already really nice for its purpose, but it might be worth thinking outside the box. Yeah, I think that's what we're trying to do here, Nemo, a little bit. Put a little more streamline in this thing. Let's kind of bring these guys into play here. Let's get them in the screen so we can kind of look at them. There they are. Just a quick start at putting some very elevation, quick studies together here. Again, I think I really like the fact that there's a gesture here that's pulling it all rearward. It's much more dramatic in terms of being so static in the center, and a lot of masses being reduced here. So let me just kind of stop there for a moment. Victoria, anybody else? Shadow, if you got any commentary on this thing? I know you're working away at it and in a meeting, but if you have a moment to kind of peek at this thing and tell me what you think, I really appreciate the input here. So we'll try some of this stuff. And once again, Nemo, you're saying taking some of this canopy and keeping it intact, a little slimmer with it, but sliding it underneath so it's almost like an observation box. Is that right? Sounds neat. That'd be kind of an interesting new approach to it. But I'll wait for the response here. But again, what I'm trying to get across here, and again, as I said at the beginning of the stream, not my task here at all is to change that 400i. It's an absolutely beautiful piece of equipment. It's just looking at maybe the revelation of making some adjustment to some of the shapes, get a little more fluid with it, and almost has an IMSA or LMP character to it. The old Zeppelin cabins. Yeah, that'd be kind of neat. The old Zeppelin cabins are neat. So there's phase 1 there, guys. So let's put these out of the way. There's a sketch here. Let's go back and look at what that might look like here. Let's do a couple of series of sketches here. We might scale it back a little bit. Let's try another elevation here. Let's see, pardon me, get this out of the way here, and it down. See if we can get this started. Let's go a little slipperier here. Get that line started here. Let's go back. Let's get that forward line, and let's get that long sweep in this thing. Again, let's bring this back into here. Let's cut that line back. Again, let's go back into this. Float this thing. Almost dart-like. Let's drop this down just a bit and bring it back. there's basic fluid body form there. Now let's come back in and put a little bit of underbelly in this thing that does this. Nemo's cabin right here. Bring this back up, cut it underneath, bring this through. Now let's go nacelle. And let's go wing structure. I'm just kind of what-ifing it here. Thinking about this thing here. Let's get this. Let's get almost B1B bomb. Let's get this thing to really kind of draft back. There's my exhaust platform right there. It's real thin. There's there. This comes up underneath and picks it up. There's the underbelly. Let's add another secondary line in here to kind of break down some of the shapes, kind of slim it up just a little bit, and then lose it. Well, let's go upper. Let's go upper cabin. That's there. Let's come underneath. Little wind dihedral back here. That'll help. There we are. There's a neat. What do you think of that, guys? Other than the fact that we've got some weight underneath this thing. What do you think, gesture-wise? Come along and take this thing, maybe next variation. Nemo, we'll bring this up a little bit. It's a little massive again here, but I think the principle is interesting. Let's go with this. Let's go move the tone to it now. Let's do a real quick gesture to it. What's happening in the shapes? Glass. Again, canopy. Captain's crew up on top. Another variation of the theme here. Another little secondary. Engine nacelle. Drop over. Shadow underneath the box right here. Let's bring the intake a little bit further forward. Stick here. Now, a little modification here. Let's do this. It's going to slim that up a bit. Let's make this portion Nemo the gondola. Let's just take some of the weight out of it just a little bit. Here's that underbelly gondola. That comes about there. And again, we can save that by doing this. Pardon me, just to get a stick here, add it. A little bit of texture down here. A little bit of land mass, a little bit of cloud mass. Kind of give it a little bit of setting here. So we just got to lost a little bit of that. Might be an articulated paddle up front, directional, a dihedral of some sort. And then it's that into a real slim canopy. Run that through just a bit. And look how much drama we're getting to this thing now. It's getting that's so close. What do you think, Nemo? Is that coming closer to what you've got vision-wise? That comes out underneath and comes back out again. Underneath comes back out again. Gets back into this area here, and right back into the engine nacelle area. There it is. Yeah, better. What do you think? That's a little slimmer. That's not bad. I mean, there's a lot of activity in there, but I think it really looks business-like. I think that's the fun part about this whole process. Much more business-like. So there's this coming back into this. Let's kind of straighten that up a little bit. Let's put a bit of drama up front here. What do you think, gang? Making some headway here? Interesting forms. It's really a lot of it's a very fast boat. Yeah, it really boat-like. Yeah, it is almost boat-like. You're right. Let me put more tone underneath this thing here. And we'll come at it here. Get rid of some of this underbelly, this weight out of this thing, put a little more cloud mass into this thing. It's almost, get rid of that, then that's it. Let's bring this line, let's strengthen that line just a bit more. There it is. Shadow underneath, a little bit bolder, underneath that nacelle, then back out of it again. So there it is, and there's a floater. I mean, there's some interesting forms, really neat forms coming out of this thing. So let's see what happens if we do this. Let's do a little thumbnail here. What happens if we do this? Let's start here. Come up out of this thing. Come down the line here with a little of this, a little bit of that. I'm going to swallowtail this thing here. Let's see what that looks like. Hey, what do you think there, gang? A little perspective study, kind of looking over the top of this thing, get a little more wider, a little bit more width in the plan form. Maybe we add a little of this. I'm just picking up some information there. Maybe it's more of this kind of a look. A little bit of a wing system coming up with this thing. If we need it, we can add that little vector to it. Right. All negative area back and behind here. So just there's the exhaust chutes right here. That becomes that portion of it there. So are we doing like a 401 progenitor? Yeah, possibly that could be it. Not bad at all there, gang. What do you think? I'm gonna stop there for a moment. What do you think about some of those some of the looks here in terms of getting a little bit more fluid? Is it too thin, too needle-like? That's a good question here. Let's see what happens here. We come back in. Maybe it's this. Ache and underbelly. There's another approach at it here. Real quick little pencil sketch. Running out of lead here. Let me hold on a second here. What do you think there, guys? Come along all right? Yeah, the Cuba Hyper Vibrant. Doing a demo. What do you think, guys? So far, so good. I mean, we're a lot of stretches here in terms of making some organizational adjustments, but just looking at the possibilities again of what this thing looks like in terms of gesture. Coming with this little gondola underneath here. There's that Nemo's, again, much more B2 bomber, a lot more wing on this thing. There it is there, into that nose area. There's that undercut under the belly. Let's call this the area that Nemo wants. It's a little gondola that sits underneath there. Is an observation deck. Comes back underneath the actual belly itself, into the wing surface, cuts back all engine nacelle in and out again. This is all exhaust back here. And then this is all a twin canard tail system up on top for stability here. Just a little bit of that. So, and again, this all fades right back into that upper capsule area. This up and drops into this form. It comes into the body form of the actual capsule itself. And then there's the actual shape. It's almost more of a wing system here. Plan view wise, it's kind of neat. You know, just coming back in through here, a little bit of plan view. It actually does this, comes out off of this shape. A lot more wing here, comes right back into that form. So it may actually look like this. And this whole cabin, this comes back, there's wing. This portion here comes back and extends its back, comes like a swallow's tail, comes back into here. And then there's the actual other side. Let's bring this through in the plan view here. Just a little thumbnail sketch, brings that on in. There's canopy here, there's cockpit area here. And again, this negative space. And those canards come off of that portion there. So that's where they kind of settle in. Then the rest of this is almost B1 approach. Just a real great big huge wingspan to it here. There it is. We can break that up as well. We can actually break into it. And again, come right back full forward. And again, pull the canopy rearward. And get a little more of that. That's what that starts to do, right? That's interesting. Now, this secondary form here can come out. That slipstream's underneath to get that bridge that Nemo was talking about here. So there's wing. Into form. Let's break that out a little bit. And again, let's just separate these guys a little bit here. So there's my center line. There's my cockpit area here. There's my nacelle area. And then again, the engine intake could be right in there, just right inside that throat. That's kind of a neat little deal. It just really compresses the whole thing. There you go. How's that looking, guys? Interesting series of sketches, just kind of rambling through some what ifs and so forth. And we'll look at it from the point of view of an interesting little series. Let's go back just for a second here. I'll go back and get this. Let's stretch this thing, really get into some real intake. There's a basic plan form right there. Just stretch that beauty out there. Let's see what happens here. There we go. Now, let's bring this on through. There it is. Let's bring that canopy. Let's slipperize. Let's make this thing really slippery. Really low profile. Just bring that thing right down to nothing. There's upper. Glass. Into stealth. Radical departure here. But let's see what happens here. Now let's put this glass down below, glass down below. Again, section, a lot of hat, a lot of roll under here. This foil comes up, brings it into that shape. Then we get some stick here. Almost boat tail like. That's interesting. I just got to bring that little stealth process in here. That's exhaust. That's exhaust here and here. Let's kind of trail that in and show where that is. So it's that, that, that. That's exhaust. Man, that's a real slim, almost like a flying wedge. Interesting thing. And especially the 3/4 thumbnail on the left. 3/4 thumbnail on the left. That guy right there, Nemo. What do you think? Coming together all right? That's interesting, isn't it? It's just fun, as I said at the beginning of the stream. I just don't want to get to a situation where you all feel who are watching this, that we're redesigning this ship. We're just looking at some possibility of facelifting these things and just doing some interesting sketch work in terms of what it might look like in the next generation. And while I'm gabbing here, let me just put a little bit of a sharpener in the stick here. And again, what do you think, guys? So far, so good. Thumbs up, thumbs down, making some good progress here. I mean, we're not looking for a final solution. We're just exploring shape and form here as we go through this whole process. Let me kind of sharpen this stick up a little bit too. Run out of paper here. This will be a little stubbier. Let's move this back and get a little bit more activity in this guy. So it's this. Let's extend this out a little bit more. That's more like it. There you go. There's that little stealth step in there. And again, a little stealth. And again, very slim looking operation here. Let's go back just for what it's worth. I'm going to do a real quick little elevation here based on this guy. Let's see what happens. We'll stretch this thing out. Get very dramatic with that nose cap. There it is there. That actually lifted up and almost real low profile. It almost does this. Comes back into there. There's my wing surface here. It's kind of dropping down a little bit. There's my intake here. That there. That comes out the wing. Does this. Goes back to stealth. There's the canopy right there. Just kind of a little thumbnail sketch here. That comes down. This comes back. Notice this little wing graft that comes out of this and forms a glove. That's interesting. That little wing glove does this. Out of that comes a secondary belly form. Ooh, that's cool. And this gets really dramatic. This whole drive line comes real fluid of the river, then drops into a little, again, secondary stabilizer. Look at that. That could be really cool. There's the engine. That's all you see is that real slim nacelle right there. And then it comes just out of that. And it's just a shoulder. It's underneath that form. It just does this. This is my underbelly here. Let's kind of put a little bit of ink in this thing. You don't see much more than this. Just really kind of mysterious looking. So that's that. It drops in. That does that. We can kind of break that up just a bit and bring this in. That steps back just a bit more. And here's Nemo's little observation deck underneath that comes underneath the belly form there. That's kind of interesting. And then it's this, this, canard, the body form. How quick is that? A little bit of gunning system up front here, a little protective device. Let's go this way. Let's go this way. A bit more shape. It's very simplified, but again, trying to get it down to an essence here. What that shape might look like. Here's that same. Let's lift that wing just a bit. There's another glass surface into there. That's an observation portion here. Into engine. And then there it is. There's a little page composition on just maybe some footprints on. I mean, look how dramatic that change of, I mean, they're not great sketches. I'm just looking for ideas here, gangs, but I'm just looking for, what do you think in terms of overall, if I can get them all in there? I don't know if I can get them all together. Shape. There we are. Again, looking at the overall content of, cab forward, a little bit of airspace in behind this thing, a little more almost B1, B2 bomber look to it. A little bit of weight in here, get a little bit, that's a neat idea, Nemo, getting that little canopy or that little observation carrier, the basket underneath the actual body form itself. That's fun. That's looking really good. So here we are. Here we go. We'll keep going. Let me get sharpening sticks a little bit here. And what do you think? Making progress, gang? We started here. Here the elevations began with. And actually, let's go back and do a real quick review. Is there anything here that looks like it might be a bit of a striking difference or departure? I still like to maybe go after that guy. That's kind of a nice looking form. And the actual slope of the actual shape itself, and pull the canopy back and get a little more mysterious with some of the engine intake systems here. So let's do this. There's where we started. Went to a couple of really quick elevation studies here. A lot of mass in this guy, and I just didn't really care for the fact there's a lot of weight in this one. Let's drop it down just a bit. That one has a lot more weight in through it and a lot of girth. Then we kind of dropped it a little bit, skinny this guy up a little bit more, and really stretch it just a bit more. So really interesting how that coming together here. So that's where we are there. Then we went to this page, where we actually dealt with a little more exploratory stuff, like a little plan view studies and some perspective back to an elevation. Started with this one, getting that little console underneath there to work with it. Engine nacelles and canopy up on top, and some of the observation decks and the like, and the captain's cabin. But again, much more fluid, I think, a lot more dramatic in terms of looking for the search forms here. So let's go back and look at some of the things we've got here. Let's go back here, start another sheet. And we'll keep rolling here until we find something we like. And well, you guys are going to be the judge of this one for sure. So let's go back and look at this again from the point of view of, all right, let's get this thing to really stretch. Let's get the wedge in place of that real thin form to it. Body form, there it is there. And what I do is come back in through here and just open this up just a bit. Open that up. Now I'll come back in and drop it down just a little bit, and come back in again and finish up this form here. So maybe this now becomes an engine nacelle. Now maybe that engine nacelle steps in and does this. Comes off the form, breaks out of it. Comes off the form, breaks out of it. There it is. It's that. Now maybe it also does this. It comes back and twists in the plan view. Comes back and slims up as it goes rearward. Let's just see what that does. It comes in here, does this, slims up in the plan view, and just rolls right into that. So we've got this almost like a swallow's tail back there. And on top of that, let's kind of bring the station up here. Let's kind of bring this all canopy rearward. Let's kind of get this set up here. Let's get this coming off of that, and that coming off of that. I'm going to build the sketch here. Just bear with me. Let's get some of the bare bones in place, and we'll start putting some shape to it. Comes off of there now. We're going to float this thing. That comes off of a spine right there. That stays there. That's a spine that thing sits on. It goes right back into the nacelle. There's a canopy wing out, form through, back to body form. This comes down nice and flat. That stays right where it is. That comes off of this shape, rolls into this. That comes off of this shape, rolls into this. Carries on. Now maybe there's a little bit of a change of pace up front here. Nose graphic on this thing. Maybe this is an upper canard of some sort. That melds back in, There's a little more lift to it. It's normal, up to a little bit of a cant to it. Now let's bring this forward and just slope this thing in. Now look at this. Oh my! Look at that! Look at that! Look to that beauty, man. That's fun. Really stretching this thing out. Notice, I'm going to keep the engine nacelles high and move into this thing with this and that. Let's put a little bit of texture in this thing. Let's get this thing to work. area here. Pardon me for the silence, just kind of concentrating on the shape what we've got here. This cantilever comes up with the top of this thing. This sits off the deck itself. So the actual flight deck here, let's take that through. Let's take that through. Let's animate it. A little bit of a valley in there, so it comes along and drops in up at this engine piece. This engine piece comes along. There's a nice little drape to it like so. Let me turn this just a bit here. It goes down. Now, these canards, that comes back and does this. Goes underneath this a bit. Let's put a bit of tone in this thing. A shadow underneath that canard where it's actually coming off that forward spine. Center line. Breathers. Okay, back here where that line is there, we're going to come the other way. So it's going to come back at me like so. I'm going to tone up and through here. Canopy wise. I'm going to surface on this guy. Now, let's wrap this thing up into this, into that, into that, into that. Now, and there you go. There's a nice, simple little form right there, gang. What do you think? Now the intakes almost look like those of the Hornet. Yeah, interesting. There she is. What do you think, guys? Cantilevered upper. Let's make sure we clarify this thing. Let's do this. And I also want to try this. Let's have a little fun with this guy. There's a little bit of drama to it. There you go. A bit of pastel on that guy. What do you think, gang? Coming together all right? Interesting. I really like where this is going. Well, I'm going to stop there for a moment and get a little bit of input from you all, gang. What do you think? So far, so good? So making some good progress on getting some forms down here. Like, I mean, how much more delicate, how much more full rearward this thing is. A lot thinner in the area here. Interesting little gesture. So let's look at this guy. A couple more little this one here. And there's another elevation. What do you think, guys? Let me get some of the dust out of the way here. How's it coming along here, guys? Pretty good? Looks lethal. Yeah, it should be lethal. I mean, this is all engine drop here. Let's just kind of reinforce this thing. Let's come back in through here. This is all engine drop. There it is. There it is. Lost a little bit of the pastel. But that nacelle just kind of spreads out and gives you a little more plan view width in this thing, and it comes right back down to almost butterfly. Anti-stealth system here just really narrows up the whole process, and it kicks right back into this hole. This is the exhaust system, in and out, and again, very stealth-like. We could do this. Oh, I missed this. I'm sorry. Little stabilizer back here to kind of keep us honest. There it is. Keep us in the time zone. There you go, guys. That's interesting. What do you think, guys? Let me get back to this table. Coming along? Oh, now the intakes almost look like, oh yeah, the Hornet. Okay. Anybody, any consensus? Victoria, you still with us? Any conversation here at all? Any input, guys? Yeah, it should look lethal. I think that's what we're after here, Shadow. Really interesting thing. So, well, let's do this. I've done a really good reiteration here of where we are with this whole idea. I'm coming back in. Let's finish it up with this. Let's see what happens when we come back to this. Through the center line. Cabin, swallow's tail, cabin, last area here. Now let's bring this in. Into nacelle, out, and right back again. That to that to that. I'm going to do a half section here so you can see what we're after. A little canard lift up on top. Now let's kind of put this back together. This little dart. That's this. Comes in. Swallow's tail here. Let's carry that through. Let's carry that through. Let's get that little offset in here. Let's bring this surface back here. It kicks back, does this. Again, this comes in. There's an engine there. Let's kind of pull this forward. Let's kind of pull that forward. And this comes out and just cantilevers right back through here. There's the intake there. There's that little plow surface here. Canard, back to canard, canard, back to canard. Body form, intake, intake, cabin, nacelle separation, engine here, engine there, draw through, kick back. And then through here, and this is where that slider is. This is where the exhaust is, right there. It just comes right back into here, and it does the following. Little stealth tooth mark in there. There you go. This drops a shadow into here. Let me sharpen a stick here. Let's get this down here. Let's just do this one half section. There it is there. Center line. Through the center line. Into offset and shadow. Swallow's tail is. That comes out and gives me that. That comes out and gives me the following. This is all cantilevered. So this is going to be in shadow here. There's intake there up front. It comes around. Observation window up on top. Observer window right here. What you don't see in that view, a bit of a skylight reverse here. Kind of comes back in. Drops back in through here. And again, it comes out the nacelle. Again, point of reference. Again, point of reference. Flares out a little bit. Comes right back into the body form. So I can kind of time this guy here real loosely. It's that to almost that. You know, look how nice. I mean, that thing just really kind of flutters out at the tail section there, really looking interesting. So, Nemo, yeah, looks like that's 2 missile pods. Yeah, it does, left and right. I don't know why they blocked you. No, what? You got blacked. Interesting. Look, like old man, if the chip was here, he'd want more missiles. Yeah, it's true. He would want more missiles on it. So there we are there. There's my center line. That opens up to that nose cap. Canard. And I don't know, we don't see that. Well, let's see what's missing here is this. Yeah, that comes off of this lower piece here. It comes off of this. You'll have a little bit more of a stabilizer right there. So that gives me that little half section. Let's finish this little exhaust area here. Does that. That. And again, a little bit of drama up front. There it is. There it is. And there it is. Put that aside here for a second. Put a lot of line weight in this thing. Just a bit here. And I'm going to let it go at that right there. This is just a plate of just sketches in terms of what this thing might begin to look like in terms of taking a look at the 400i and just doing a little massaging on here. And it's a beautiful machine. Don't misunderstand here, gang. Absolutely elegant machine, but boy, a lot of fun to just kind of an exploratory piece here throughout the course of the afternoon. I'm going to wrap it up right there. Let's go back and review these sketches real quickly. So we started here, and let me just bring them all together here, gang. And we'll go down the list real quickly and get you on your way. Really, thank you for your patience. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. It's been a real treat to kind of look at this thing. And I might consider this just maybe day one. Day one, maybe on Thursday, we'll come back and revisit some of these sketches and pick one we like and go into a nice little finish piece and take it into another dimension here. Started here today. Let's get these guys out of the way. Those are the first 2 studies we did here. Let's get these guys lined up. Just some real quick little thumbnail soldier sketches to kind of give us an idea of what we might be looking at as far as terms go. And all of a sudden coming right back in here is just really interesting thumbnail sketches, getting proportion down, scale, looking at some of the weights and some of the things that the current 400i has. Very elegant, long nose, cabin rear. Some interesting things happening here. Also, a second page of just kind of refining some of these shapes. This one was interesting, a little bit more too fluid, but we might go back and revisit the sketch and kind of give it some justice here. I don't really care for the engine pods, but maybe bringing it up on top and slimming it up and getting some of that and pulling the captain's deck full rearward would be kind of an interesting thing to look at. So I'll put that on the list to kind of take a peek at. So we started with those 2 thumbnails to get it going. Then we've got a couple of very large, quick elevation concept sketches here. Just kind of drop them into the box. There we are, right about there. So we started here with that's one little element. It just need to be stretched and kind of thinned up a little bit bulky in through here. Got a little thinner here. Again, still looking maybe a little more length, but I really like the fact that everything's starting to happen rearward and really looking at it from the point of view of just getting so cool in terms of getting that whole drama of cabin rear, long nose, and very elegant form, which the 400i is. So it started with that one. Then we went from that page of sketches to this set here, where we opened up a little bit more and did a little more exploratory, some thumbnail sketches, looking at elevation, and got a little busy in through here. But again, looking, Nemo had a great comment about getting a gondola system underneath the machine itself, and then coming back into here and putting that into place. And again, it's a little bit rounder, a little bit more fluid. and it's a little bit busy up in there. Maybe we can eliminate that upper deck and get a little more clarity on some of the engine nacelles. Better a good shot at it here. And again, going back into a little plan view study, what that might look like. And again, this little 3/4 study, opening a little bit weighty in through here, but again, we're just looking at the possibilities of potential of conceptual variations on a theme. That's simply that. Then again, a lot more girth in the rear area here. Very thin up front, and then opening up in the engines areas. Again, very animated, very thin and narrow, so it doesn't look so weighty. And again, this is almost like a B-2 bomber variation, where the actual wings just kind of open up and it just flares it all open. This is all open back and through here. Much more stealth-like, and again, this elevation was kind of nice too. It just a little more speed form in the thing. It's not quite 400i, but it had a lot of drama to it. So we kind of picked up on that as a second page. And the third study we did here was just kind of slowing things down a little bit and going to a little bit overhead perspective. There it is. If I can get them on the board here, there you are, right about there. Up a little bit, maybe. Okay. But again, looking at this, a little perspective study, again, those thin engine systems, and then getting a little bit more change in the plan view by kicking right back into the rear area. And this is all open back here, stealth-like exhaust. Elevation study of that form, then going back to a plan view. Again, notice everything's coming now. We're starting to get somewhere with this whole idea of going rearward on this thing. Again, a lot of mass at the rear section of the form itself, and then again really thinning it up as it goes. And it also repeats a little bit of that plan view that the Origin has. The 400i has a little bit of the reverse swing to it, which is kind of nice. So we brought that back into play and really opened up the nacelles and broadened it out here to give it some girth. So that was it, gang, for the duration of the day. And I really want to thank you for the time and patience of being with me here today. This has been a fun project. We've talked about doing this for quite some time, like get these sketches organized. We'll let them in there. Getting them organized for quite some time, but I think it'd be a good challenge to kind of take a look at what this guy might look like in time to come. So again, the purpose of today's stream was to no deviation whatsoever. The 400i is an absolutely beautiful machine, but just a variation of if we had a chance to maybe do some facelifting or design work on this thing, what would it look like? Just really interesting how it all comes together. So the top one, you like that one? Something about that is new. Yeah, we're trying to get a little bit more of a little more fluid, a little bit rounder in the forms here, especially in this guy. So again, the purpose was to really take a look at maybe the proportion change, maybe a little bit more elongated, a little wider and changing some of the engine systems, and not trying to take away from the elegance or the beauty of that 400i, because it's absolutely a beautiful machine. So that was it for that duration. So and wrapping it up here today, I want to thank you again for your time. I'm really amazed. I don't know how much time I've run here. I think just about an hour, 20 minutes, I think. So thank you for your patience. I appreciate all the input. And Nemo, it's great to have you on board. Man, I can't thank you enough for being a part of the process. That was great to have you on board today. And thank you for the input. Victura, Shadow, everybody else on board today, thank you so much. And please take a moment and visit my website at drcontrast.com. You'll find some interesting drawing program there, 9-lesson plan on basic drawing skills, such as what we're doing here today. Also on my website, there's my my Twitch account, my YouTube account, and also my Instagram account. You can take a look at the work. And I will say this every week, every time we go on the system here. Just interesting how it all comes together in terms of if you have an idea or a thought or something you want me to work on or take a shot at trying to help you with, please drop me a note at my website, my email address at jim@drcontrast.com. I'd love to hear from you. Input on the shows, what you'd like to see done in the future. All that is really great. And let me Nemo, got a note here. Nemo, thanks for the interaction. Yeah, well, thank you, Nemo. It's good to have you back on board. I'm glad you had found some time to join us. Always good to have you on board. And again, really enjoyed it today. And we're gonna pick this up in phase 2 on Thursday and begin to refine some of these sketches. I'll bring them back a little bit of a review, and then add some more material to it and see if we can come up with a nice resolution for a resolution on the 400i facelift again. So thank you so much, gang. Appreciate the time and effort. And I will end the stream by saying the following, because I sincerely mean it. Never forget to remember to dare to be great, because you are. Thanks very much, gang. We'll see you on Thursday at 2 o'clock. Take care. All the best. Bye-bye now.